Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. It's your business to understand that what we're getting with the problems with the website there with Obamacare, and now you're finding out that you can't keep your insurance policy because you 65-year-old men need pregnancy insurance because you never know what could happen, you know. With all of this strange stuff happening, it's just a harbinger of things to come. This is the future. It's going to become more and more like this. It's going to get harder and harder. You're going to like the program less, and every day that goes by, the harder it is to get rid of this program. Steven Crowder, who I think is absolutely hilarious. He's a good friend of the National Center for Public Policy Research. In fact, he's a journalist for them as well at the National Center for Public Policy Research. I used to work with them. I used to be communications director there. Love the work they do. Love the work of Steven Crowder. Here's a great interview with Hannity that Crowder did about Canada's health care. Listen carefully and be reminded why you need to contact your congressman and your senator and say it's time to revisit Obamacare. Go ahead.
President Obama's trillion-dollar health care proposal continues to lose public support, and my next guest, is not surprised that Americans are concerned about the prospect of socialized medicine. Pajamas TV correspondent Steven Crowder recently took a trip to Canada to get a first-hand look at their universal health care system and how it operates. And joining me now is Steven Crowder of Pajamas TV. I watched so much of this. This is a great piece of work. And I hope and people can see it on the website.
Yes, they can see it at PJTV or just go to my YouTube channel. All
right. I want you to, first of all, you have Canadian friends, and it was funny because they weren't doing anything, and you brought them into the thing. I had a lot of humor to it. But you said you hurt your hand with a skateboarding accident.
Right.
You go into first you went to the private clinic and that was closed.
It was closed. Don't get sick on Sundays.
Don't get sick on Sundays.
Right.
All right, so you decided to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
All right, walk us through what happened.
We went in, and as you saw, the lady said it would be a 2 to 10 hour wait. She wasn't sure. Then you have to see the nurse at triage, and you don't know how much more of a wait that's going to be. It's just a long process. We ended up not sticking around. We didn't want to stick around for 8 hours.
You were given literally a number, 69 and 70 if my memory is correct.
Like a butcher shop.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a butcher shop. You pull out a number, and you're all set.
But you're good with the numbers. You're like Rain Man. You just pulled that number out of thin air.
Yeah, well, all right. So you got there, and so all of a sudden they said how long it would be before you saw a doctor.
Right, and they said between 2 and 10 hours.
2 and 10 hours. And you waited 4 hours.
Yeah, and that's like 500% more between 2 and 10. 10 or 2, there's a pretty big gap there.
All right, now, but while you were there, you ran into some people, right?
Right. There was one guy who had a broken clavicle, and he took 5 hours to see a doctor, and they just ended up sending him to an orthopedic the next day, saying they couldn't do anything, don't sleep on it wrong. There's a guy who needed penicillin, took him 9 hours. And then, of course, we had a lady who we interviewed outside, whose mom needed the operation. That was a little bit worse. She lost both legs.
Why don't you explain that? Because the period of time that it took, she had a bad leg, and because they waited so long, she ended up losing both her legs.
Right, yeah. She had a problem with one of her legs, a circulatory problem. I believe it was tough to understand her French. It was a little bit broken, and she said that it wasn't a priority, so they waited for a year, and then at that point it had spread to the other leg, which they could have saved, but they ended up chopping it off first, so no legs.
All right, so that was day one, and so you decided to see if this was an anomaly. So you have day 2 in your film, and you had a friend, Steve, go to a clinic to get blood tested. He says he doesn't have a family doctor.
Right. And he doesn't. That wasn't scripted. We went in, we wanted to get a blood test. They have to have a slip from your family doctor. You have to go into the CLSC, local community service center, get the blood test. They send it to an independent lab. It takes 2 weeks, then they send it back to the doctor. And if you don't have a doctor, you're screwed, and that could take 2 to 3 years.
All right, and how long? And he was told he doesn't have a doctor. So what happened in his case when he actually went there? They told him.
They told him, put yourself on the waiting list at the clinics. They said just wait and see if you can get a doctor. They did say if you want to speed things up, though, Sean, that you could call the local universities and med schools and find someone who needs to build their roster, their client roster, and maybe get an inexperienced doctor.
That would be really exciting. Why don't you have an inexperienced dentist pull your teeth out? What the heck?
It's like going to beauty school for a barber.
Now, they do have a... that's funny. They do have a private clinic that you were given the option to go, but the clinic is open 9 to noon, Monday to Friday.
Right. That was.
So don't get sick again on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. No, Monday to Thursday, actually. We found out it was Monday to Thursday. She wasn't so great in English, so yeah. No, you had it right in the video, but she wasn't lying. She was just wrong.
So
Monday
basically, the clinic that you would pay $900 for, which is about the average cost, would be, open 12 hours a week?
Not the private clinic. That's the community service center. The private clinic we didn't go to because we wanted to make sure that we only use the socialized health care that we're paid for through our tax dollars. So I don't know about the private clinics, but I assume it's probably a bit.
All right. And now, what do you say based on the fact that you actually went there? You went there with your cameras. You went there undercover. You got a real glimpse into the single-payer system that so many liberals in this country want to implement here in this country.
Sure.
What would you say to them?
I don't think they want it, Sean. I don't think most Americans want it.
Well, I think Obama certainly does. The Democrats certainly do.
Michael Moore.
But I mean, Michael Moore, the Cuban health system is the envy of the world.
I mean, come on, like Michael Moore's like he's like the WWF. I mean, he's entertaining, but nobody thinks it's real anymore. Nobody believes a word he says. I don't think the American people want it. I think they may think they want it. It's like a college student who can espouse his political views because he's never held a job, never had a dog in the fight. Well, I was raised in Canada, and most Canadians who are raised in that system don't like it. They don't.
Doesn't this really just highlight a point that I've tried to make as often as I can, that if you're from Great Britain, or if you're from France, or you're from Canada, there's a reason that all the people from these countries that have free medical care are flocking to the United States.
Right, absolutely. And it's not free when you take into account the tax burden. I mean, we show that in the video, the overall tax burden. That's ridiculous. Most Americans didn't believe it when they saw it.
Well, I got to tell you something. And you have a woman who says, by the way, her mom, again, waited a year for treatment, had ended up getting both legs amputated, the incessant waiting, the inferior care. You don't even hardly get to see a doctor. And how Canadians really feel about the free system. They're paying higher taxes on just about everything for a very poor system.
Right. And what this video does is, anyone can go read Dick Morris's book, which I would recommend they do, to read the facts and statistics. But this video actually shows Americans a first-hand experience, which I don't think they can incredible. All
right. And you can see it again at
PJTV or YouTube.com/Steven Crowder.
All right, Stephen. Good to see you. Good work.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible.
Don't say I didn't tell you so. That was Steven Crowder explaining why the healthcare crisis is going to be horrible in the United States. Just look at Canada. I don't know why we think we're somehow superior to the people of Canada. Much, much more in terms of exposure of what government does wrong right after this on The Price of Business.